such a simple thing that is such an ingrained part of our everyday life. Every day we get up, we decide what we are going to wear. Maybe we might throw something on, maybe we might curate for our collection. Maybe we'll just wear whatever we feel like. In today's day and age, our clothes usually reflect our interests, our hobbies, our passions. Some people view it as a casual chore, but others find enjoyment from it. And it can also depend on how you're feeling that day too. But one thing is for sure, it's something that everybody shares. Hello. My name's Jasmine. Today I wanted to do a video talking about how to find your own personal style, how I've been able to find my own personal style. I just want to give you my personal journey and experience of getting to that point, because for something like fashion and style for me, it never stagnates. It is always evolving. I always feel like I get inspired and I always want to try new things. I just wanted to give people my own personal experience of finding your own style, because fashion and expression with what I wear is like armor to me. It gives me a sense of confidence. It gives me a sense of security, and I have autism, so the way I probably describe a lot of the ways that I've navigated finding my identity is tied to things like clothes and my interests and stuff. Even if you can't relate to that, or if you have your own version, I hope that this could maybe be some sort of form of encouragement to maybe explore your own if you're ever scared, because to me, view finding your own personal style as like a scrapbook of sorts, and it's kind of creating your own amalgamation of you, your interests, your beliefs, your passions, and everybody expresses that in different ways, and I think of clothes as a form of that. To put that accordingly, today I just want to share with you how I found mine and hopefully inspire you to explore yours, maybe in similar ways that I did, or your own ways. I'm going to put on display some outfits that I've wore this year and last year. In the last 3 years, I've done a lot of growth, self-growth, and discovering and accepting who I am. A lot of my inspiration, passions come from my interests. I want to talk about where my passion for fashion began when I was a child. Anyone that grew up in the 2000s had Bratz and Barbie growing up, and something that I am to this day is a very avid doll collector. The first Bratz dolls I ever got were the boho chic dolls, early 2000s. It's one of my first memories. I think I was about 4 years old when I got them. I got Chloe and Yasmin. I asked my mum about it and she specifically said she got them because she was really like into hippie bohemian fashion, and that Bratz line was a particularly down bohemian line, and I love collecting, like now I love collecting the old Bratz lines. I still have them 2 dolls, but I have the whole line now. I find the early 2000s Bratz lines in particular, it encapsulates an era of fashion that I will always love. The kind of fountains of that is dolls. I think the last few years, one of that was falling in love with dolls again, because after COVID I found my old Bratz collection. I fixed them up. I became a database learning about what line goes with what screening is with what, so I could like look at a bundle and just be like, that's for that. And then I would buy bundles really cheaper and accessible to do that back then. And I amassed a really huge collection of Bratz dolls, and I've got so many lines complete. I've been able to accumulate lots of leftover clothes and pieces as well. Styling my own dolls too, giving them their own like custom outfits and stuff. I really want to start learning how to sew, so that's another thing. But with the Bratz doll, I won't show my collection today. I want to do that as a separate video. My Bratz collection and my doll collection and go into that. But today I just wanted to talk about, again, one of my fashion inspirations, which was dolls. So from childhood, I've always loved Bratz and Barbies. Literally my whole identity from the ages of about 4 to 10 was a Barbie princess in any form. I loved Swan Lake, I loved Rapunzel, Princess and the Pauper, particularly Annalise, and I loved Fairytopia, that all the fantasy elements. So a doll I have today, my childhood Barbies are for the most part not on display. I have a Lord of the Rings, Arwen and Aragorn. They were such a precious gift from such an amazing friend, and I cherish them and I can't box them. But they have the screening of that era that I love. I love the early 2000s Barbie dolls and the early Princess era dolls. So I think she is such a stunning doll, particularly this era of doll screenings. You see here? She's even got green eyes like me. But she's absolutely insane. And she has everything that I love in a doll. She's ethereal. I don't only just love pink dolls, but I do have an affinity, if they're done right, to a pink doll. This doll probably came out around 2005 and she's absolutely incredible. Dolls give me such comfort. They help me not only sensory wise, just feel like I can channel their energy, saying like, oh, this is my fashion inspiration, or it's just like the aesthetics and stuff around it. And even just like looking at her makeup and stuff, you can draw some incredible inspiration that I've discovered in the last few years. I like ethereal and very feminine, girly pieces of clothing, but I also kind of like the opposite. I like more dark and edgy clothes, and sometimes I like to combine that together. Sometimes I want to be super girly, sometimes I want to be completely covered up, and sometimes I just want to kind of dress like a princess or a flower. I know that probably makes no sense, and again, with what I was talking about before, Bratz are they are the reason why I got into dolls. They are the reason I got back into dolls in 2020. And I just wanted to show one of my personal favourites that I fixed up. I got her naked very cheap in a bundle, and I boil washed her hair. Obsessed with doing dolls up, and I pieced together her outfit. This is one of my favourite Never dolls, Secret Date Never. I just wanted to pull a doll that, because I switch quite often. One week I might be obsessed with one doll, one really random. It could be like a passion for fashion Chloe, and then next week it could be Genie Magic Jade. It could be a really common doll. It could be like a soccer Yasmin. I always come back to her. And with Bratz, I love the way it feels to hold them. I love how sturdy they are. I love their fashion pieces. I love how easy they are to dress. I love them so much, because sometimes I'm not as into Bratz maybe as another doll, but Bratz are usually like my all-time favourite. Well, another fashion doll that I think deserves to be talked about, because I'm not into them anymore. I loved Rainbow High in 2023, and that was when I was at the worst point in my life. I love this doll in particular. What they were doing in this era, especially with the Shadow High dolls. I have a few. I don't have every Shadow High doll at all, but I have like a few that I really enjoy. This is Carla. I've been deliberating for a while what to do with my Rainbow High dolls and Shadow High, because I'll probably never get another Rainbow High doll. But what they did in like 2022 I love what they were doing, especially with the Shadow High. The fashion pieces were quite amazing actually, and I love what they did with like the cool toned makeup, the white eyelashes, and again, I bleach my eyebrows. I do need to re-bleach them again soon, but because they've kind of grown out. But I love what they did, and they were so inclusive. It was such a great era of Rainbow High dolls and Shadow High, but again, I wanted to show her as another example, just to kind of encompass what first drew me to fashion. It did begin with dolls. Since that's been reinvigorated for the last 5 years, that's also been another love of mine. Another thing that's kind of helped me is actually creating a scrapbook. I started this scrapbook in 2022 and 3, like them whole 2 years. I was always in hospital. Feel like I lost my sense of self because nobody talks about how much illness completely overtakes and obliterates your true self and your passions, your creativity, your interests. When you have become yourself through that, when you start losing that passion, interest for not only your special interests but everything, and you become a husk of yourself, it's a very defeating feeling, and it's awful to be in a tomb of your own despair and sadness, and you feel like everything about yourself's been stripped away. There's no other worse feeling. I'm sorry for getting a bit deep there. I didn't really understand who I was. I needed to remind myself of that, and that's why I think a scrapbooking is really good for that. I use this as a reminder of who I am. This started as just me doing things I liked, so I did this in in hospital. I did the colour pink because everyone was given a scrapbook. I think I was the only one that really got really obsessed. Everyone was given a scrapbook of their own. They would just give random themes. Someone was just told to do their favourite colour. I chose pink. So I just chose a lot of things that I love. 90s anime and Black Lady, like the evil Shibuya. I love her aesthetics. I've always loved her since I was a little kid. I don't know. Brass, because that was literally just talking about that. Nana, because of course, like, one of the pages I'm not going to go through everything in my scrapbook because I'd love to do a video on that. In regards to fashion, I did a page on, so this is the sort of clothes I was into in 2023. It has changed a little bit. And then I would just take random like tags, fashion stuff. I was really like sea fashion as well, like Chinese fashion brands. So this top here and this jacket, I ended up getting them that year. I still have them now. These were the shoes that I like to wear. These were the buffalo platforms I used to love wearing. These were the Nike shoes I always used to wear. Just a few random runway looks and early 2000s J fashion I used to love. Well, I still do love, sorry. Oh, this is an Ed Hardy jacket I used to be obsessed with as well. Again, just a random amalgamation because with scrapbooking I would just have like scrapbook supplies. I would just put random things together. And this is just a book to remind me who I am. Like, this is the person you need to get better for, because when you're not better, you can't be who you want to be. For fashion one as well would be Bratz. I did all my favourite Bratz lines, and I can't preface enough, I can't talk about enough how much Bratz have inspired me fashion wise. I put a lot of my favourite lines on here. My favourite Barbie hero. One of my favourite artists just back there is etcetc now. So I did some Japanese artists that I absolutely love, and I think recently I've been tapping into just art and stuff because it really does inspire you with clothes and just everything of that nature. And another thing as well that's inspiring, I'm going to end up showing you I won't end up showing you the whole book because because there's that many pages. But another thing is video games, because that is a huge interest of mine. I fell in love with video horror game protagonists' outfits. Fatal Frame was the one that got me really into it. I did like a video on my TikTok and I posted it to YouTube Shorts of like just some clothes that I had that were inspired by Fatal Frame outfits. Media wise, I love Fatal Frame. Media, that is also another huge influence of mine. Early 2000s media, Brat's early 2000s media. Artists like haiii now. Anime, and particularly Nana. I know Nana's like super popular, but it's popular for a reason. I love the way they both dress, but in particular Hachi. Figure out what media you love. It's really easy to kind of like help you build your own unique sense of style from that. What I'm trying to get across is you don't need to copy them at all, quite the contrary. You can just build up an inspiration. It's overwhelming to kind of figure out the things that you like, and I would honestly say start with Pinterest. Pinterest is incredible for that. I would honestly say like make a Pinterest and go through all the media that you love and just save it. Even with a TV and media, early 2000s TV shows, and if you watch what the characters in that wore back then, I feel like the costume department was so conscious of the character, and there was usually fashion designers on set, and they really would know the character inside out. Elves and fairies. Loved Witch, Winx, Arwen in Lord of the Rings. I loved Eowyn as well. Just female characters in that fantasy setting. Barbie in all these like medieval fantasy places. The elaborate dresses she would wear. As women were not afraid to tap into their femininity, because fashion and discovering your fashion, it's about your essence, how you want to carry yourself, how you want to appear. And there's some of the many things that inspire me that I wanted to use as an example. When you've discovered what you're into, that might be the easy part. Developing your style it's like a craft of probably mainly errors that you might look back later on and go like, a lot of probably my favourite and unique pieces are from charity shops, and if they're not from charity shops, I usually will get like basics from Brandy Melville, an Urban Outfitters sale, Vinted as well. It's incredible. I have found some of my favourite pieces ever on screen, some of the pieces that I've found and the prices. I don't use it as much anymore. Vinted is an incredible place. If you find on Pinterest or wherever inspiration for something that you love, and you can just like search something similar on Pinterest, like a pea coat for example, like they're probably going to be in a lot this autumn and winter, and you can just search that. I got one of my favourite coats ever last year from there for about £5. Me giving my own take on how to find your style can help you with yours. Okay, see you.